Good morning, everybody. Matt here with MPD Construction. There it is right there. Killing bugs, driving down the road. And wanted to touch base with you guys on a couple of things. One thing I want to talk about today is order of operation. Imperative that your contractor have a proper order of operation. I've seen so many projects come off the rails and go out into the weeds because order of operation was not standardized, was not laid out in a schedule, and was deviated, and things come off the rails real quickly, and things get missed. And then before you know it, you're opening up drywall and you're trying to figure out how to fix things that should have been done properly in the beginning. So, order of operation. Write this down, get a pen and paper, and make sure in the schedule your contractor gives you, these things are laid out with dates, completion dates, what the expectation is, and if any inspections are done or mandatory, then those are done. So here it is. So order of operation, obviously demolition, assessment, do we miss anything, is anything hidden, things of that nature. That's a mandatory, you got to do that. You're going to find all kinds of stuff in houses, especially where homeowners think they're Mr. Handyman, and they splice electric together or do some funky ass plumbing. It's going to happen. Any house you buy that's 30 years old is going to have one of those homeowners that thinks they're Joe Contractor, and they're going to splice it together. And I've seen it all, from garden hoses buried in walls to plastic pipe used for irrigation, you name it. just the way it is. So after that, order of operation, plumbing and HVAC go first. Which one? I don't think it really matters, because the two usually don't run in the same channels, but those two come first. Then electrical. Electrical can be bent, wires can be snaked. Typically electrical would go after plumbing and HVAC. After that comes insulation, fire blocking, draft stopping, all of those small pieces that are necessary to meet code compliance. Then come your inspections. So you're going to have a rough electrical, rough plumbing, rough HVAC, and then a framing inspection. What the inspector's looking for is, are all the holes drilled properly? On a joist, floor joist, if it's not TJI, you got to be more than 1.5 inches from the top or bottom. You cannot notch a joist. I cannot tell you how many times I see this where people notch a joist and you just knock 60% of the joist strength right out of it just by notching it. TJIs, you can only drill in the webbing. I can't tell you how many times I've seen electricians, and this has happened on my job, where they notch out the top cord or the bottom cord. Now the TJI is useless. The whole way a TJI works is that it doesn't stretch. And when it doesn't stretch, it doesn't bend. Anytime you bend something, it's going to get longer on one side and shorter on the other. That's how a TJI gets its strength. It doesn't stretch. And as soon as you notch out that cord, that's it. It's going to stretch. And it has no weight bearing capability once you do that. And it will break. Somebody will be standing there with furniture, a tub, whatever, working out. Boom. It's going to snap. Now, you're not going to go through the floor because you've got other TJIs there. But still, it's going to be loud. It's going to be scary. And it's expensive to fix. So, no notching. If you see notching on your job, bring that up. Bring it to your contractor's attention. Tell them to stop and get an engineer over there and fix it properly. Draft stopping, fire blocking, vitally important. It's mandatory that this be done. And this is what you'll see. You'll see orange foam. You'll see insulation in basement framing every 10 feet. And You'll see insulation up in the upper cavities. And the whole point of this is so hot gases don't rise through the wall into the upper cavities and spontaneously set combustible material on fire. Really isn't that hard. It's lack of knowledge that causes these problems, and then it just culminates. And so if your framing isn't done according to the plan, with windows, placement of fixtures, placement of lighting, anything hanging on the wall, if they're not 16 on center, your drywall guy is going to hate you. I've seen this so many times, you know, where framing is not done, and the drywall guys they got to figure out where the framing is, and they just can't go off a standard 16 on center, 14 3/4 in between, and it just presents so many problems for them. Everything is done to a standardized perfection, so the next trade knows where everything is and they know how to do their job. And it's going to take them half the time if things are done properly. If they're not, they're probably going to walk off the job because they don't have 3 days to do a one-day job. So order of operation, very important. These things, depending on the scope and size of the project, should take a couple of days up to maybe a month, depending on the size and scope of the project. So write those down, make sure your contractor is following the order of operation, and make sure that your inspections are being conducted and that you're passing each inspection. Now, a brief note on inspections. It's not a big deal if you fail an inspection. It happens. You know, a multitude of things can go wrong. A plate wasn't put on properly. You know, for plumbing, maybe your stack on your dryer box is, you know, less than 18 inches or 21 inches. I don't remember which one it is. So, you know, things go wrong. It's not a big deal. It can be fixed. You fix it, you throw in a picture, and the inspector passes it. You know, the inspector isn't there to make your life miserable. He's just there to make sure you're meeting code. It's really not that hard. Believe me, code's the bare minimum. You know, if code is the standard, then, you know, you've got the absolute minimum standard. And they will tell you that. They'll say, look, you just can't go below this level. And that's why we're here. So, you know, building to code is not exactly what you want. But the inspector is there just to make sure that, you know, you don't have wet vents and you're not overflowing, you know, into other areas of the house. You know, when you flush a toilet, you don't want that sewage line, that sewer water backing up into your sink. That's why they're there, to make sure that doesn't happen, so the house performs properly. So I hope this was informative. If you have any questions about order of operations, or if your contractor isn't following it, let me know. Send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you. Thank you.